On an ordinary afternoon in the African savanna, something extraordinary was about to happen. A golden retriever named Luna, who lived in a wildlife sanctuary, heard sounds of despair coming from the nearby vegetation. What she found would change everything. A hyena cub, trembling with fear, fleeing the deadly claws of a hungry lion. In that moment, something awakened in Luna, an instinct that transcended all barriers between species. What happened next defied everything we know about the wild.
The sun was beginning to set when Luna patrolled the grounds of the Wildlife Refuge Sanctuary, a place dedicated to protecting animals in danger. She wasn't just any domestic dog. Luna had been trained to assist the forest rangers, alerting them to any suspicious movement nearby. On that particular afternoon, her ears picked up something different. Not the usual sounds of the savanna, but sharp, desperate cries echoing among the acacia trees. Her instinct propelled her forward, ignoring the sanctuary's safe boundaries. As she ran toward the sounds, Luna could feel the tension in the air. Dust rose in clouds in the distance, a sign that something large was moving quickly. The birds had fallen silent, and other animals were running in the opposite direction. Everything indicated imminent danger. But Luna didn't back down. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with determination. Something inside her told her she needed to keep going, that someone needed urgent help. Upon reaching a clearing, the scene before her eyes was terrifying. An adult lion, with a dark and imposing mane, was chasing a small creature that staggered among the rocks. The hyena cub, which couldn't have been more than a few weeks old, was completely alone and defenseless. Its spots were still pale, its movements uncoordinated. Luna knew that in seconds, that little life would be extinguished. It was then that she made the bravest decision of her life.
Without hesitation, Luna charged toward the lion with a series of loud, aggressive barks that echoed across the savanna. Her golden fur bristled completely, making her appear larger and more menacing than she actually was. The lion, surprised by the dog's sudden appearance, halted his charge and turned to face his new adversary. His yellow eyes fixed on Luna with a mixture of confusion and irritation. For a few seconds that seemed like an eternity, predator and defender measured each other in a tense silence, while the small hyena cub continued trembling behind a rock. The lion roared loudly, baring its sharp fangs, a clear warning for Luna to retreat. But the dog held her ground, planted firmly between the predator and its defenseless prey. She knew she couldn't win a physical fight against that giant, but she also knew she needed to buy time. Luna continued barking furiously, moving from side to side, creating a living barrier. The lion, still confused by this unexpected resistance, took a few steps forward, testing Luna's resolve. It was then that the wind changed direction, carrying with it the scent of other humans and vehicles from the sanctuary. The lion realized that the territory was no longer safe for hunting. With a final roar of frustration, the big cat slowly retreated, its eyes still fixed on Luna, before finally disappearing into the tall vegetation. Luna maintained her defensive posture for a few more minutes, making sure the danger had truly passed. Only when silence returned to the savanna did she turn to the small cub she had saved.
The hyena cub was huddled against a rock, its small body trembling violently, its dark, bright eyes fixed on Luna with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. The little creature no longer had the strength to flee. It was completely at the mercy of whatever came next. Luna approached slowly, lowering her body and emitting soft, soothing sounds. It was as if she instinctively knew that sudden movements could frighten the fragile being even more. Carefully, she sniffed the cub, immediately recognizing the signs of dehydration and extreme hunger. The cub, who would later be named Kito by the sanctuary's caretakers, was no more than 3 weeks old. His characteristic spots, typical of young hyenas, were still clearly visible on his grayish fur. It was clear he had been separated from his clan for days, probably during an attack or territorial dispute. Without the protection of his mother and the group, his chances of survival in the wild were practically nil. Luna seemed to understand this entire situation on a deep, instinctive level that transcended logic. With surprising gentleness, Luna began to lick little Kito's face, cleaning away the dirt and dried blood from small scratches. The puppy initially cowered even more, but gradually began to relax under the dog's gentle care. Something extraordinary was happening at that moment. Two beings of completely different species, who in nature would never interact peacefully, were forming a bond. Luna then did something unexpected. She lay down beside Kito, offering the warmth of her body to the creature that trembled with cold and fear. When the sanctuary rangers finally found Luna, the scene before them was something they had never witnessed. The dog lay in a protective position, with the tiny hyena cub nestled against her chest, suckling gently as if Luna were its real mother. The rangers, led by an experienced veterinarian named Marcus, stood paralyzed for a few moments, trying to process that impossible image. Hyenas and dogs were known to be natural rivals on the savanna, competing for the same resources and territory. Seeing those two together defied everything they knew about animal behavior. Marcus approached cautiously, fearing Luna might react aggressively while protecting her newborn pup. But the dog only raised her eyes as if silently pleading for help. The veterinarian quickly examined the puppy and realized Kito was in critical condition, malnourished, dehydrated, and with a dangerously low body temperature. Without immediate intervention, the little one wouldn't survive the night. The team needed to act fast, but there was an unexpected problem. When they tried to separate Kito from Luna, the puppy began to cry desperately, and Luna emitted a low warning growl. That's when Marcus made an unusual decision. Instead of forcing the separation, he allowed Luna to accompany the puppy to the sanctuary's veterinary center. Throughout the return trip, the dog stayed by the transport crate where Kito had been placed, constantly sniffing to make sure he was still there. Upon arriving at the clinic, something remarkable happened. Luna absolutely refused to leave Kito's side, even during the medical procedures. Her presence seemed to calm the puppy, who stopped struggling whenever he felt Luna's touch or smelled her nearby. In the following days, the sanctuary staff observed an extraordinary transformation. Luna had fully assumed the role of foster mother, staying by Kito's side day and night. She refused her own food until the puppy was fed first and wouldn't allow anyone near him without her close supervision. Marcus and his team had to adapt the entire routine of the veterinary center to accommodate this unlikely pair. They installed a special area where Luna and Kito could be together, with cameras to monitor every movement of this unique relationship. Luna's behavior was even more impressive when observed up close. She had developed a complete maternal routine. She cleaned Kito regularly, warmed him with her body during cold nights, and even tried to regurgitate food for him, as mothers of puppies do in the wild. When Kito needed medication, Luna gently held him with her paws, allowing the veterinarians to do their work. The little puppy, in turn, had become completely attached to his adoptive mother, following her everywhere as soon as he gained enough strength to walk properly. News of this unusual adoption began to spread among the staff and volunteers at the wildlife refuge. Many came to see this impossible relationship with their own eyes. Some animal behavior specialists visited the sanctuary trying to understand the phenomenon. Theories varied. Some believed that Luna had recently lost a litter and was channeling her frustrated maternal instinct. Others suggested that the dog simply possessed an exceptional capacity for empathy. But regardless of the scientific explanations, one thing was undeniable. Luna and Kito had formed a genuine and deep bond that transcended the barriers of nature. As the weeks passed, Kito grew rapidly under Luna's devoted care. The little puppy, who had previously barely been able to stand, now ran energetically around the enclosure, with Luna always watching his every move. The dog had become not only a mother, but also a patient teacher.
She taught Kito about boundaries, gently correcting him when he bit too hard during play or when he strayed too far from the safe area. It was fascinating to observe how Luna adapted her teaching methods to a puppy that wasn't of her own species. Marcus noticed something particularly interesting. Luna was teaching Kito canine behaviors, but the cub was also beginning to demonstrate its natural hyena instincts. Kito tried to imitate Luna's barks, producing strange sounds that were a mixture of typical hyena laughs and canine growls. During meals, he displayed the natural competitive behavior of his species, but Luna patiently corrected him, teaching him to eat more calmly. That unique mix of behaviors created a truly singular creature, a hyena cub with dog-like features. The sanctuary team now faced a growing dilemma. Kito was healthy and strong, but completely dependent on Luna and ill-suited to living with others of his kind. Cautious attempts to introduce him to other hyenas at the sanctuary had completely failed. Kito would get scared and run back to Luna, who would protectively stand between her adopted son and the other animals. The experts debated the future of this unlikely pair, knowing that eventually difficult decisions would need to be made about their fate.
3 months after the dramatic rescue, Kito had transformed into a young teenager full of energy and curiosity. His size was now comparable to Luna's, and his hyena-like features were becoming increasingly evident. Strong jaws, a distinct posture, and that intelligent gaze typical of his species. But something remained unchanged, his unconditional love for Luna. Every morning, Kito would wake up and immediately seek out his adoptive mother, rubbing his snout against her in a ritual of affection that had become part of their lives. Luna would reciprocate with affectionate licks, maintaining that bond that defied all expectations. The Wildlife Refuge Sanctuary then made a revolutionary decision. Instead of trying to force a separation that could traumatize both animals, they created a special habitat where Luna and Kito could live together permanently. The area was designed with features that met the needs of both species: open spaces for Kito to explore his hyena instincts, shaded areas where Luna liked to rest, and an artificial lake where they could both cool off on hot days. This innovative solution would allow them to maintain their unique relationship while living with dignity and comfort. During this period, something unexpected began to happen. Other animals from the sanctuary who had been rejected or orphaned began to gravitate toward Luna and Kito. A baby impala who had lost its mother to poachers found comfort near Luna. Even a wounded young baboon began to cautiously interact with the pair. It was as if that extraordinary bond between the dog and the hyena had created a welcoming energy field that attracted other beings in need. Luna, with her infinite capacity for love, seemed to have room in her heart for everyone.
A year after that fateful encounter in the savannah, Luna and Kito's story had become a source of inspiration for everyone at the wildlife refuge. Visitors from all over the world began to arrive at the sanctuary, not only to see exotic animals, but to witness that impossible friendship that continued to flourish. Marcus and his team used this story to educate people about compassion, empathy, and how love can transcend even the deepest differences. Each visit became a living lesson on how emotional bonds know no species barriers. Kito was now an impressive young adult, weighing nearly 60 kilograms of pure strength and agility. His natural hunting skills had emerged, but he only practiced them in controlled play and exercise at the sanctuary. Despite his intimidating appearance and predatory instincts, Kito maintained a peculiar gentleness when interacting with Luna. When they played together, he always moderated his strength, aware that his adoptive mother was smaller and more fragile. During rest periods, he still lay beside Luna, resting his massive head on her body, just as he had done when he was a terrified cub. Luna, now with a few gray hairs beginning to appear on her golden muzzle, remained vigilant and dedicated. She had aged gracefully and purposefully, finding meaning in her mission to protect and love that being that nature never intended her to create. Veterinarians often commented on how Luna seemed healthier and happier than many other dogs her age, as if that maternal purpose had given her a special vitality. Together, Luna and Kito had created a family that proved to the world that true love needs no logical or scientific explanations to exist.
The story of Luna and Kito teaches us something profound about the true nature of love and compassion. That afternoon in the savannah, when a golden retriever decided to confront a lion to save a hyena cub, something magical happened. It wasn't fate that brought them together, but simply the fact that they were in the right place at the right time with hearts open to the impossible. Luna didn't think about the differences between species, the conflicting instincts, or the odds of success. She simply acted with pure courage and unconditional love, proving that sometimes the strongest bonds are those that should never exist. Today, years after that dramatic rescue, Luna and Kito remain inseparable at the wildlife refuge. Their story has become a powerful symbol that barriers only exist when we allow them to limit us. Each day they spend together is living proof that empathy can flourish in the most unlikely places. Marcus and his team often reflect on how a single act of bravery changed not only two lives, but also transformed the way they understand relationships between animals. Luna and Kito's legacy goes far beyond their own friendship. They inspired the sanctuary to rethink how they deal with orphaned and rejected animals, creating innovative cross-species adoption programs. Dozens of other animals have found unlikely families thanks to the example of this extraordinary duo. The lesson remains clear and moving. True love doesn't need logic, doesn't require similarity, and certainly doesn't ask permission to exist. It simply happens when courageous hearts open themselves to the impossible. If you enjoyed this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel to help me bring you more stories, and turn on notifications. Comment below with your thoughts and suggestions. Don't stop here. We have many more incredible stories waiting for you. Keep watching and discover other tales that will touch your heart.